Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
We're not real good at staying in.
We're individuals.
This is to advise those present at this meeting of the Board of Education of the Pinehurst Regional School District in the County of Ocean. The adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. The notice has been posted in the Board of Education office, junior high school, and high school buildings. The notice was also mailed to the Press of Atlantic City and filed with the municipal clerks of Bassboro Township, Eagleswood Township, Little Lake Harbor Township, and the Borough of Tuckerton. Roll call, Mr. Brennan.
Mr. Bonnicky. Mrs. Chambers.
Here.
Ms. Hannadel.
Here.
Mr. Kabricki.
Here.
Mrs. McVeigh.
Here.
Ms. Palladino.
Here.
Mrs. Paklakua.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mrs. Ernst.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Could I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have an agenda.
All right, moving on to a discussion on the draft agenda. We're going to attempt not to go through this line by line, but if you have questions, let's just take it by topic. So first up would be instructional. Any additional questions that have not already been answered?
Yeah, I have not per se a question, but a comment or we are now.
Wait 1 minute because I'm not in there.
Yeah, mine's not opening either.
That's what I was trying to do in there.
I have no idea what this.
Yours open? What'd you do? Special touch?
Oh, that's it?
No, well,
Thanks.
It still won't let me in. Is it gonna come? Yay, thank you. All right, little delay there. Everybody else up and running?
No. It's just gonna be frozen.
Okay, so looking at this, it's not moving. There we go. Under committee reports, instructional, anybody have any additional questions that have not been previously answered? And Stephen, you had started.
Yeah. Based on our meeting with school boards last time and a discussion of the code of ethics and our responsibilities and what we talked about last time.
Right.
Mary Ann Friedman suggested that our assessment role was to assess things we had to vote on. So anytime we would vote yes or no, we had to be able to assess a particular item.
Correct.
And in the past, there have been many times where I had no idea of what the item entailed, and out of courtesy, that's a good word, thank you very much. I certainly did not want to keep asking questions on those items, although Mary Ann said you should ask questions, and I didn't want to prolong the meetings. But now that we have a new superintendent and we're basically starting over, I don't want to fall into the same pattern. So when I was looking at this thing and I said, item number 5, extended school year, I had no idea what that was. And I think there are a lot of items on this agenda for new board members like myself who have no idea of items, and yet we are expected to vote, which makes it people who have been on the committee, been on the board a long time might know exactly what that is, and I sent that to Melissa and she responded, then I looked it up on the internet and I know a lot about it now.
Right.
You know.
I did not know either, Stephen, and I did not know that it only applied to our special ed population.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I did not know that
So,
either.
again, my thing to Melissa, well, here's an example. I want to know what's, who is it referred to, what its objectives are, what
Right.
the things are before I could vote yes on something that I have know nothing about or vote no. So, in the past, we've had these items and any questions, any discussion, well, I don't even know what to ask or what the question is, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to, if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask that. So I have a good idea what the extended school year are. There's still some interesting features of it. I know Dr. McCulley suggested that maybe at some point,
Mrs. Ward?
that would come in and we could ask her some questions about it, because some of the things it said were not all students with IEPs are provided with this extended school year opportunity. That depends on the committee coming together and recommending some. So I mean, there's some interesting questions. What % of our students who are on IEPs go to this extended school year program? What type of data is collected at the end to see if the objectives of it are met? I mean, that would be nice to know in terms of that particular item.
So I'm going to try to answer some parts of your question. When we get to the superintendent's update on the agenda for tonight, I'm going to go over some suggestions of how we can change the format of our board meetings to make it more efficient and really answer all those questions prior to the night of the board meeting. As long as we can do that in a fashion where we're not entering into a quorum online and it's merely just a Q&A where the board can see answers to things. And whether it's the business office or myself answering those, you would only be able to view that. You can send me the questions personally, but then those answers would be in some type of summary. But in regards to voting on things, you should not vote on something that you don't understand. So absolutely, we'll have a time for all of those questions in advance. If it's something that the entire board would like some more information on collectively, then absolutely we should have someone, one of the administrators or myself, doing some kind of presentation so you have a better understanding of it. I think when we discussed too our retreat in July, then a lot of that information could be answered then, and perhaps that could be part of our goal setting. But absolutely, you should never vote on something that you don't understand what it is. In regards to ESY, simply students that have it as part of their IEP, which are typically self-contained students, they have ESY in their IEP, and they have to be provided that in the summer for a certain amount of days. So the program has to exist legally. What the program looks like, really that's where Ms. Ward can come in and show us like what they're doing and update us. But as I said, when we get back to the regular agenda and the superintendent report, I'm going to suggest to the board some format changes which might help clarify questions prior to the board meetings.
And I think that's good, because I think the difference between the workshop meeting and the regular board meeting, where the workshop is supposed to be the board discussing issues as a whole and sharing information, should have a different type of
Sure.
of orientation than the regular meeting, and so I'm glad to hear that.
Smarties, are we doing the Smarty program in this? I actually thought that was this,
No.
where it's more like Title IX, I thought.
ASY comes out of the special education budget. So what she does in that, it really depends on their IEPs as well. What happens in one classroom may not be happening in the other. That really depends on, their learning goals.
But I thought we always had it in the summer, the Smarty tutoring thing.
That was an after-school thing, I think.
I thought it was in the summer.
And
If
then
you
that
want to
brings-
email that to me, Kim,
Okay,
I can
sorry.
check and verify.
Okay, and then I actually don't know what self-contained student means.
It just means that they basically stay in that classroom
One
all
class.
day. They don't go into, they don't mainstream
Move.
for like
Okay.
language arts, math. They're in that classroom for a majority of the day with the same teachers.
I didn't know that, thank you.
And then this item opens the question, should we be offering any extended school year programs for other than special need type of students? Are there any areas for regular students where programs might be beneficial in terms of some extended school year? That's part of a broader conversation that might be useful. in
And I
that
think when we
workshop
do
session.
goal setting in July, we're gonna do that in conjunction with the administrative team. And I think that's a great time to ask all of those questions, because their goals are gonna offset how they plan their budget for the upcoming year too. And programs like that might come out of Title I, Title II, but that's something that we'd have to plan in advance.
I think also, if I understand correctly, that perhaps by streamlining the work session portion of it in our regular meetings, that maybe some of the things that we've all wanted to take a look at. You know, like, where are we going? What programs do we have? What are successful? What aren't successful? What could we add for the betterment of our students? Maybe we could get to those, you know, because I think that's what all of us have been looking for is, all right, where are we going down the line? All right, any other questions or comments under instruction?
On committee reports,
Mhm.
the policy 4322.
Yep.
I'm sorry, it's 1322. The one that includes the superintendent, I believe it's 1322. I just want to make a suggestion there. First and foremost, I don't need to be included in that list because my, all that on me, my phone, whatever, regardless, goes through Little Egg. So I don't want it to appear that I'm getting that on both ends. The other piece of that is, I know that's tied to a dollar figure. It might be easier to make that part of the negotiating agreement. So take it out of policy in regards to how much they're getting back or if they're getting a cell phone. And that could be done in the negotiated agreement because it really is a perk. So if, you know, for example, if, you know, they want to, if we're negotiating with the administrators and, you know, you're going back and forth in terms of dollars and days off and that could be something that is an incentive that, you know, you can also get this money back. But I don't think it should be a policy because you're going to have to keep referring back to that policy and changing that policy because of inflation and cost of, you know, the cell phone use. So it might be easier if we just make that, take it out of policy and put it part of the bargaining unit.
Just the dollar amount.
Just the dollar amount.
Right, okay. Good suggestion.
So will this be amended then for the first reading? We're gonna take the dollar amount out?
So, yep, it's just the first reading, so we can change that
Okay.
and then put it on again.
So we would go ahead and approve the first reading, change it for the second.
Yes, and we're
Okay.
basically just taking out that one paragraph with the dollar figure.
Okay.
That can be done before the meeting then, so we can still be able to have our first
Right.
reading and vote.
Does everybody understand why 1322 was pulled out of the 4322? Because it was one whole policy under all staff. Any questions on that?
Well, 4322 has to do with staff, but the 1000s are administration.
Right, and admin were included in the 4322.
Right,
And that's
okay.
why the policy committee made the suggestion and is recommending that it be pulled out with the new 1322.
Anything else under instruction committee reports? Okay, let's move on then to personnel. Any questions there that you did not already get answered?
I have
Go ahead.
a bunch again.
In addition?
In fact, it's not so much as questions, and it all depends what you mean by questions as opposed to more information
Okay.
on some things. I think a lot of these items, I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 17, 18, 19, 22, 23, 26, and 27, that I don't think I have enough information to vote on. I'll just give a couple of them. because
Okay, and did you email?
I emailed
Dr. okay.
Melissa with just an example from
Okay.
one,
Just
for one
just
of
one
them.
example, just
Right.
for one of them.
Okay.
And I'll just do that one and then another one.
Okay.
Like, number 8, coaching appointments for fall and winter. And it's not a question, but I emailed Dr. McCooley with our board policy 2431, which says, the superintendent shall annually approve and present to the board for its consideration a program of intercollegiate athletics. That policy suggests that every year, as a board, we need to approve a program of intercollegiate athletics. And it did not make sense to me to approve coaches when we haven't approved a program of intercollegiate athletics. That means which programs are we gonna offer? That means we have to, you know, there should be an annual report done of which programs we presently had. I gave Dr. McCauley a list of things that I thought maybe that report would be nice to have in it, which new programs might be added, the cost benefit, the participation rates, things like that in terms of developing that program. But right now, by appointing coaches, you're in default without having approved the program. So do we want to eliminate program X and add program Y? Because if we want to do that, that changes our list of coaches. So, we have that policy that says annually, the superintendent will present to the board a list for consideration of program of intercollegiate athletics, and I think that's a good policy. You look at the programs every year, you see what new things are going on, you see what other schools offer, what we don't offer, what things cost, how many participants, and then as a board, based on the recommendation of the athletic director and superintendent, we come to a program of interscholastic athletics, and then the coaches would follow.
I don't think that's a bad suggestion. I would suggest doing that probably at the beginning of spring, moving forward for the upcoming year. This current year that we're moving into, we're basically going to have to be status quo only because of our situation. A lot of our games are going to be away. We're not really going to have the capacity to expand anything. And as I said in the email back, the fall coaches, according to their contract, have to be approved by June 30th. So that's why they're on this list right now. But I already talked to Will about kind of changing the process for that, how they're approving. So prior to the season, 60 days prior to the season, posting that so it's closer, so you can see that, right before the season starts.
I knew we had done a survey of students and community as to what programs we want to see offered. It would be a shame if we let that data and that information just sit and not utilize it and develop the best program.
Do we know where that data is, though? I don't ever remember seeing it.
We never received it, but it was
But I'm sure it's there.
Okay.
And once again, when we meet in July, it's going to be a lot of data presented. I think that would be a nice aspect of that, to see the data from that. And Will be there, obviously, so we can have that discussion with him.
Does that help, Stephen?
Yeah,
And again, it's kind of an assessment as to where we're going.
where we're going.
Not
I
this
don't
coming
expect
year,
things
but
to
the
be done
next
soon,
year.
But I mean, I'm just trying to point these things out so
Right.
that we operate on a more effective level. And again, I think a lot of the other items just don't give a lot of information. And let me just pick one at random here. I'll just pick any one. Let's see. Number 11, let's just say. Why do I have that on my list? Job coaches. Motion to approve the following staff as job coaches. I don't know what job coaches do.
I didn't either. So when we
You know.
went through the agenda, we meaning myself with the administrative team last week, we go through the agenda line by line, just so I'm understanding of everything, there's no errors on that, etc. And Karen asked the same question. The job coaches are basically there for students with IEPs. If there's an after-school activity and they need assistance, if they have some type of medical need, they have to have a person with them. From what I was told, it's rarely used. And the other piece of that is Karen suggested putting some kind of cap on that. I'm reluctant to do that when it's special education, because you never know what the need is going to be, and we have to serve their needs.
Wow,
So-
okay, so that's, I thought of, my idea was that these are this SYBS who have the job coaches who help students find jobs. So that's, all of these,
Yeah,
I said 6, 7,
exactly.
8, 9, 10, 11, it'd be nice if these things would have a little paragraph as to what these
Explaining what they are.
explaining what they are, and not assuming that we know what they
Well,
are.
that's the other piece too. So when we go through the format change, it's really important to ask those questions in advance. And the first time is, you're gonna have the question, I can explain it, and then it'll be easier moving forward. But, it definitely is something that needs to be clarified.
And the other thing, it would be nice to know what's actually budgeted for all these areas and what was expended the year before, so we have some
Especially
ideas.
with special education, I think it's more important to see what was spent the year prior, because that'll give us a good average.
Baseline.
But regardless, even if we budgeted, let's say, $3,000 for something and there was special education need, we'd have to find the money somewhere, because we have to meet their needs legally.
Staying on the coaching, fall appointments, is there some reason why there's not a head football coach listed?
I asked the
We did
same
that
question.
March, didn't we?
And they were, apparently they changed the format where they had to post the jobs 60 days after the end of the season. So they were posted in December. So that coach was approved in March. So Will and I talked, and it's really difficult to follow that format for many reasons. So we're gonna start doing it 60 days prior to the deadline in the contract. So if they have to be hired by June 30th, it'll post 60 days prior to that, and then we'll hire closer to the date. I think that'll make it a little bit easier for everyone, because you forget, you approve someone in March.
Yeah, I think these are actually the gaps from what we had
Mhm.
approved in March.
Yes.
So this is
Right.
not a complete list.
I asked the same question.
I just noticed on item 3, leave of absence,
Yep, in addition.
there's an addition, item D, and I would just ask if you could please check the dates. It looks like it's for a full year. But then it says not to exceed 12 weeks. So if you could just double check and.
Well, because it's intermittent, so that means that it's gonna be as needed,
Yep,
so,
I
right,
missed
there's
that
different
word.
reasons for that.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've done that in the past.
Yes.
Too, with that individual.
Mhm.
Yep.
Any other on personnel?
Again, the question, the things I have, I'll just send to Dr. McCauley
Okay.
instead of,
Yeah, and I think your point is well taken, that sometimes we don't really understand what the explanation for that particular area is, so.
And I know Dr. McCauley's plate is full, so I don't want to give her
No.
more to do, but at the same time.
No,
I
it's
think
fine, honestly,
important.
and when I discuss the format, it's gonna make sense, and you can always refer back to it if you forget, because it's gonna be in a place where you can locate it at any time.
No other questions on personnel?
Under 23, honoraria, my question would be, have we, I know it's tough, again, only been here a couple of days, but have the numbers of participants been checked on to see if it is a viable club?
I honestly have no data on that. I did ask a lot of questions
sorry.
about like how, no, that's okay. How are they selected, or were there more than one applicant? All of that was clarified for me. Why are some paid and unpaid? But in terms of how many participate in it, I mean, I could definitely get that together for you.
I just think it's something we need to look at in the future because,
Right, if we're holding a club and one person's coming, then,
Right.
I didn't even know we had a newspaper, because I've never seen one. It would be nice to see our school
Sure.
newspaper if we have.
thank you.
absolutely.
Is that the one?
The cat scratch?
Yes.
Yeah, I got
Is that the
one.
one for Mr. Arwin?
Mhm.
Is that- Okay, that's actually done,
In a class.
yes, and that's electronically put out, so there wouldn't be a hard copy of that.
It'd be nice if the board could be shared on
Yeah, it'd be nice to just, I think there's junior high newspaper too, isn't there? No.
I think that's it.
Newspaper,
I
yeah,
think there
junior
is.
high too, because, be nice to see what students are doing in terms of, producing newspaper articles.
So we have an administrative meeting the day after every board meeting. So things that I need clarification on too, I can just stick on the agenda for tomorrow. So these items can be on there, the newspaper and the attendance in the clubs.
Any others going through?
Yes, was there, I know I emailed this question, anything on the freshman advisor? Anyone applied, we're not having one?
No, I emailed it to Darren, and that's who I thought I was supposed to, but then I was told that I had to go to Kim Clark.
Oh,
So
okay.
she hasn't, I emailed her late in the day
All right.
to find out.
Great, thanks.
Alrighty, operations?
Is there going to be something there?
Nope, we're not operating. I have no idea. Do we have anything under operations?
Not yet.
And D, report of the secretary. I know that I had sent in, and Dr. McCauley did answer, some questions on the bills list. So everybody get their questions answered.
Yes.
Great.
I have one question on the bills list that I didn't send in again.
Okay.
On page 14, EJ pass violation. Are we paying for someone's violation? $50 easy pass violation?
I used to pay those for my daughter all the time.
And why wouldn't the person responsible be paying for it?
Basically what happened is our maintenance crew went to go pick up a piece of equipment that was under repair and wasn't paying attention that we didn't have an easy pass in the truck. So they went through the easy pass lane. We warned them, said any future action like this will be, you'll have to deal with it yourself. So you basically get just get a jail-free card. So we do have an easy pass account in our van, our delivery van, because that does go up and down the parkway more often than our maintenance trucks. Our maintenance trucks are generally local. This was just a rare occurrence that they ventured out beyond the border.
When they send the violation, they also send the form that you could just put your easy pass number on.
But I think what
And it's-
Steve was saying was that vehicle wasn't registered to
It
Evo
doesn't,
Pass.
yeah, it doesn't have.
Doesn't matter.
And it's, was a couple dollars, I think, then, or something?
No, you just pay the fee. You don't pay you don't pay the
Usually
late
if
fee,
you
you
call
just pay the
them,
toll.
yeah.
The toll, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it online too.
Yeah.
I mean, $50, $50.
I mean, it's no big deal, but I mean, it's still.
It is,
Well,
$50.
Yeah. If it was your personal
I know.
account, you would go online.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
I
not-
think
don't
it's-
know.
Put that in and-
That's good.
Yeah.
Pay the $1.50.
That's it.
Oh, you got the links.
Okay, anything else under finance?
Just quick, do we expect transfers?
Yes,
We do.
Do we know when we'll have those, Steve?
I'll have it by Friday.
Karen, I know you asked about the lease purchase as well.
Yes.
So Steve and I spoke in the afternoon. We have a meeting with the administrative team tomorrow, and we'll have more answers in terms of where the money's going. So that will be updated for the next board meeting.
That'd be great, thank you.
Is there any further follow-up on the disability plan reimbursement and why the discrepancy? I mean, I understand it's part of the contract with the reimbursement, but why is there such a discrepancy with the same job title on the reimbursement? I'm not understanding
Per contract, it's a maximum of $700,000.
Okay.
$700.
Right, yeah.
$700,000.
The other individual just doesn't have a policy that either meets or exceeds $700.
So what they get back for that individual is less
So
than.
actual
okay.
cost not to exceed $700.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, just to follow up on the travel and training. I know it's paid by the grant for the youth services staff, but again, there's a discrepancy on the same training and same dates with the two individuals going. I'm just wondering why. I mean, it's $100 difference almost.
Are they carpooling, maybe Wednesday?
It's a 5B and
Be a long
C.
travel.
Yeah, the 150 was for their travel reimbursement.
Okay. so-
And then, I don't know why the other one's more, but I can check. Steve, do you know off the top of your head?
Generally, what happens when they carpool, one puts the mileage in on their approval and the other
Okay.
one does not.
Okay.
So, and I always have them, I suggest that they estimate more, a little bit more than they might think they need, because we're only gonna reimburse them based on their actual costs.
Okay.
This is just an approval. So for example, if the 150, if they try to submit something for 200, we're cutting them off at 150 because that's what was approved. So, but I would guess it's one's driving and one's carpooling.
Where do you go?
As
Well, it's
well.
somewhere.
Orlando.
Orlando?
Oh, Orlando. In the summer? Is it now?
Oh, righty.
No,
Can anyone
September.
tell me what EMDR
September.
stands
Oh,
for?
September? I can't get there
I
yet.
don't
My
know.
computer's still.
In September.
Okay, I don't.
Where
either.
is that?
It's the training that is
That's in
through,
the training.
that's
the
act-
school,
training,
the
you
youth
know,
services
EMDR
training that they're going
Yeah, nice
to.
to know what EMDR, basic training, I'm sure it's not military training, but military
Well, maybe.
reserve training, you know, but,
I'll get that to you before the next board meeting.
I never picked up on it. Okay. No other questions? Yay. That was great, that was cool. All right, let's go back then to our work session agenda. Moving on to old business, our committee updates. We have our, this is where you would like Epic, Mr. Costello. They're here.
Yep, he can either come here or they can do it at the end. Either way, that's
What would
fine.
suit you guys? Would you like to do your little update now? And then you could abscond?
Sure.
And I have those papers too, if we need them. Oh, the ones you
Okay,
have.
yeah, I have them.
Board.
Come on up, give us your,
Wait, do you have the other ones? Get these out.
Yeah.
welcome.
She knows I like my numbers.
You get my notes on it too.
We may have those in our pile. Bring them forward.
We're on the committee meeting notes today, so I just remove it from this one.
Okay, these are our representatives, Bill and Brian from Epic. No relationship to Epic Environmental, but our construction site people. So have at it, give us that update.
Well, Brian can give you an update of what's going on the site, and I
Right.
can talk about the bids if you want, or.
Okay,
How
that
would
would
you
be
like to do it?
awesome.
All right, site-wise, as you can tell, the athletic fields is progressing. Right now, in the tennis court aspect of it, the old surfaces, the equipment, the fencing's down. The surface has been milled. The new drainage surface has been put down and such, and we have some layout and staking for sidewalk work and et cetera. So that's what's happening at the tennis courts. The athletic fields right now is the demolition of the existing field and the equipment has been done. And we're currently this week installing the new perimeter drainage, which is for the underneath drainage of the field. And that's going in this week. Future things coming up in a little bit is we have an existing contract for the junior high school roofing, which most likely will be remobilized in the beginning of July. And it will take about 2 or 3 weeks to finish that off, and that'll be finished with that. With the other part, we have the bids that came in for the renovation and the masonry work, and that's part of the other approval process that we have going on for tonight.
Awesome, Bill?
Okay, just one other thing, the contractor that did the high school roof has come back, done most of the punch list, and there's a couple of issues with the code official, nothing that's life safety, but a couple of things that are being taken care of, so he's just about wrapped up. So we took bids, as you know, over the last 2 weeks. Last Wednesday, we took bids for the renovation of the both buildings, and then the exterior veneer, if you will, the masonry and windows and doors and all. We took 2 weeks previous to that. When we came here, the previous construction manager had a budget set up with you for the overall program. I'm happy to read, our estimates were close to theirs, not exact, but close to theirs. And I'm happy to report that although the masonry came in a little bit higher than we expected, it's a real specific type job, not a lot of contractors can do it. The interior renovations, which is a larger contract value, came in lower than we had anticipated. So all in all, we're in good shape, yes. I think what you have before you tonight is is the base bid for the, well, first you have the masonry, which is easy, there's one alternate attached to that.
Right.
And that contractor, we at Epic have worked with before on other projects, worked successfully with. Last time I worked with him, my office, several other people have worked with him. I worked with them about 10 years ago on a $9 million job. So converted to today's dollars, it's close in line with what's going on here. That contractor has successfully completed the same exact type of project as this. He completed one in Jersey City and one up in, I think, West New York. So he's done this type of work before, and all indications are we'll have a successful project. The interior contractor we have not worked with before, but the review that we have done and the architect and the attorneys is that the contractor meets all the qualifications, has the background. We expect that to go well as well. That project has a group of alternates that were developed. Alternates protect the district in, it's things that they may want but may not have the money for, so it protects your budget. So the budget's such that they can be accepted. There's a couple that are not being accepted, and we have reasons why, and if you want, I'll go into that. When I say we collectively, one was for the courtyard renovations, which the contractor's bid was $250,000. So if you go out and look at the courtyard, it's a lot of money to restore that courtyard. We would like to, I know Steve had brought this up, thought it was a real good idea. We'd like to maybe next year when we do the site development for this site, the junior high site, include that in there as an alternate price. Hopefully we can buy it cheaper at that point, or less expensively.
So Bill, you're saying alternate 3 is out?
We would recommend.
Okay,
doing that.
all right, awesome.
And that's the way everything's written.
Okay,
And when I say we, it's us, we went over it with the district and with the architect,
right,
so as a group.
okay.
The second, one of the other alternates had to do with the fire alarm system. I think that was in high school.
Right, okay.
Right? Where half of this, junior high school, in this building, the fire alarm system, part of it's addressable, which means when the fire department arrives, they look at the panel, there's an address of the device that sounded the alarm. And that tells them that they're able to go right to that location. That's a newer type system. Half the building or a portion of the building does not have that. So we took two different alternates. We took one to make the other half, be the same with an addressable system, which is what you want. And then we took an alternate to redo the entire system. So the way the pricing worked out, we're going to take the lower cost, save a little bit of money, and just add on, just correct the portion that's not addressable, so you have an addressable system in the whole building. The architects consultants had checked it out, and the existing addressable system is fine.
So if
yeah, why spend the money?
If
Okay.
I follow that, that was alternate 4
Yes,
Yes.
is out, and alternate,
You can't take them
9
together,
we're
you have to
going
take
to
one or the
accept.
other.
one,
Yes.
okay, all
right?
right.
That's the recommendation,
So 3 and 4 are out.
yes. Lastly, alternate number 12. So we get into the project, and I gotta tell you, it's an extremely aggressive schedule. I think you had that from the start. The fact that the high school isn't occupied, I know that's a difficult thing. I wasn't here, I'm gonna comment on that. But I think the fact that nobody's in there, things will be done safely and with less disruption. It's just better for everybody. So we want to limit the amount of time that they were in this building. The one contractor doing the renovation work, get them in and get them out. So we looked at, we really put a hard end date on this for a year from this August, so August of 19. And we thought, let's see what happens. Let's see what the contractors say if we gave them an additional 6 months to work in this building and complete in January of 20. And what we found is that the prices ranged, we estimate whether it's an add or a deduct. I mean, sometimes they're out here earlier, there's less cost. They all came in as, well, some didn't list add or deduct, but the ones that came in listed as an add. And they ran from $320,000 to $640,000, which, why would we pay more money to get the building back later? So we're not doing that. I just want you to know too, just to talk about it, the way the package is set up, the work's going at the high school with nobody there. We have an early delivery area for the gym area. We're looking to have that for the end of the year, so you can get back into there. In this building, the work will go on this summer, and then the work will stop when everybody comes back, with the exception of a small amount of work which will be done at night. And that has to do with replacing doors and door hardware that's a fire condition that the code official wants, taking care of them, make everything safer. So we're gonna go forward with that. The way the contract is structured, the contractor has to have the areas restored, cleaned, code compliant and all each morning. So we'll work just that at night. But other than that, we're not in here, but the plan is not to be in here between September 1st, I think, of 18 and like June 26th or something of 19. So no disruption. We understand how important this is, that's where everybody's going to be. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell. We award tonight. We have the contractors all starting on June 25th, a Monday. They cannot be in either building. They start on site setting up the fence, setting up the trailers, getting materials. We award tonight, they'll start making submittals. We've already tentatively scheduled a kickoff meeting, pre-construction meeting with both contractors this Friday morning. I have to send a note out about, just to get the process going, because they'll want to start making submittals for the materials they're gonna be using, buying materials, getting insurance, permitting and all that stuff. So July 2nd, everybody hits the ground running.
Okay. I personally, I mean, I don't know if anybody has questions. I want to thank you for your attention to detail. I also want to thank you for your notes, your updates. I know we just received an update. I don't know, Steve, is that on our webpage yet? Their list of what they did?
You emailed it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's on the webpage.
okay.
James.
Greatly appreciated, because it really keeps us informed of really what has been done, what's upcoming, et cetera. So I really appreciate, you guys have questions for them?
I do.
Go ahead.
So the work in this building then, it'll be very limited this summer. That will be a separate bid package we should
No,
expect in the future?
No, the contractor who's doing the interior renovations is doing it at both sites.
So then the dates though are scheduled for later on.
Basically, this summer, the work can go on at both locations. Then, I think it's August 19th, they stop in here, because you need time to get the building back, cleaned and stuff. And they stop here, and then except for those doors, the plan is that they're not done, that they're not back here, working here until next June, the year, like June of 19. Okay?
Right.
Now, the reason I say the plan is, if we find out the contractor's doing very well, and we have a period of time during spring break, or during Christmas break, when they come in and knock something out, we're gonna allow that. But it's a feeling out process to see how the contracts are performing, how things are going. And listen, it's a renovation job. We don't know. Open walls up and things are different than you anticipate. But we'll see.
And in a nutshell, is it still the bathrooms upstairs?
Yes.
They're mostly concentrating on, okay.
Second floor this summer.
Good.
Of course, the roofer will be back to finish over the science wing this summer. That's a separate contract that you already purchased previously. They'll be back. Geez, I'm trying to think of some of the other things we're doing. I know we're doing the doors. The problem is when you award to get the shop drawings in, get the approvals, get the doors manufactured, the hardware, and get it here, we just don't see it happening by the middle of August. So we put a requirement in the contract, it had to be done by November 15th, but it would have to be done at night, and we have all the requirements about restoring it to code compliant, safe condition.
But the offices downstairs are not being done, correct? That was moved.
Next
The
summer.
entrance is
Right, that
also
was-
next year.
Yeah.
Right, so for that additional work, that would be a separate bid?
No,
No.
you've worked that with these.
Where are we?
It's on
But that
here.
the timeline
It's
is
on here.
reflected.
Yeah.
Next summer.
Okay, gotcha.
And look, it's a very, very aggressive schedule, I mean, for both contracts, and, always looking for an angle, a way to cut time and make things go better, but we'll see. We don't know, we open up walls, like I said, or ceilings, what we'll find, but do our best. Brian and I worked with your architect in Ocean City 8 years ago, and we did just under $7 million worth of work in 10 weeks over the summer. So we've worked at that pace before, but you got a lot going on here. You're working on the veneer, you're stripping the brick off, you're working on reinforcing, replacing steel, and then inside you're doing mechanical units, and one of the alternates you're taking is painting and flooring, which needs time at the end. It's gonna be
Tight.
exciting.
Exciting. All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We all do.
If I just may mention one other thing, I think you didn't cover, is the temporary classroom units.
Right.
The fence is up, but naturally we don't do anything while the school's occupied. So that's geared up to happen this summer and to be ready August 15th or thereabouts. So I know they've run the electrical services.
They ran the electrical services and such. The district went and took a tour of the manufacturing of the trailers, so they see what type of interior finishes they can expect when the units arrive.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Stephen.
Are these what we're voting on tonight in terms of the contracts, the final contracts for the project, or are there more contracts forthcoming?
There are more. The largest one that's left is the site improvement package that would be done we probably go to bid, early year next year. We're all geared up to do it summer. It's the parking lot.
Parking
Cross
lots, some
street.
drainage, I think some, design
Design
around
around
here.
here.
Yeah, around here.
Yeah, and in the budget, looking at the amount of money that we had funded that the public approved, we have a dollar amount for that work, but we've also worked with the administration to also earmark some other money, because, I mean, prices are going up, you see what's happening with gasoline, and that'll reflect in the asphalt prices, and, you know, we expected maybe a little more than anticipated. So we're setting aside some money to cover that as well.
In the present contract for taking down the bricks, what happens to the old bricks?
It belongs to the contractor. I mean.
To the contractor, not to us.
No, I mean, look, if facilities needed something for some patching, I don't think you have that brick over here, it's different type brick.
We don't.
You know,
When-
so,
When that, when you take the brick down, the mortar's still attached, and it's gonna have expansion metal attached to it. Basically, what they end up doing is, they'll take it back and probably load it up, and it'll go back to a recycler. So that'll be pulverized, cleaned up, and it might, a lot of times they might use that for aggregate for road material, or they call it DGA.
yeah, there's steel to come out that's rusted, but it still has a scrap value. You know, the contractors, you anticipate that. I mean, Brian and I are on the construction management side of Epic, but we also, we're a large building contractor as well, we other divisions. But, you know, when you do this type of project from the demolition contractor, there's a value to that material. You know, I don't know if they take the windows out, get rid of the glass and all that metal. I mean, a lot of it's got scrap value. So,
But saving it for another use,
recycling it.
if you wanna reuse it, sometimes just the handling time, if you spend moving it 3 times, you could have bought new material, and it's basically, it's not really cost effective.
Thank you very much, and
Right.
thank you for coming.
No
We
problem.
appreciate it.
Right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay, moving on with committee updates. The policy committee, any update, Mrs. Chambers?
No, just, there's 4 policies on there for first reading on our agenda for next Wednesday night. 5530 has not been turned on yet because there's still some adjustments that are being made as far as what the attorney has recommended, and Dr. McCooley has looked it over as well. I can honestly say we did knock out a lot of things at the last policy meeting, so we're moving forward. We've tried to cover everything that the board has given us since January. The manual did take up a lot of our time, but I really appreciate the work that the committee's done, and also Dr. Stevenson. And we're looking forward to working with Dr. McCooley. I did talk to her about how we wanted to go about in the future to run the policy meetings. So I don't know if she wants to share anything.
Sure. I spoke with Mr. Kubricki about this too when we met, and he has already gone through and made a list of the policies that we may need to tweak or that we're not really abiding by 100%, and I think that's a good starting point. So when we meet in July for our board retreat, looking at them, perhaps cleaning them up a little bit, and then coming up with a plan at that meeting of how we want to proceed in the future. Because if we can clean up what we currently have, we typically get updates from Strauss Esme in regards to new mandates that come down that have to be changed. And it really keeps us on track in terms of, what needs to be altered and what doesn't. So if we can clean up what we currently have, I think it will help us move forward a little bit easier.
So we don't have any meetings scheduled per se for ed policy until our board retreat, and then we'll move forward from there. So the minutes are up on the drive. They were revised, so take a look at them from what I sent the committee. Just a few things were tweaked. So does anybody have any questions? All right.
Thanks, Pat. Moving on, anything on communications at this point? I know you've kind of been working on your foundation too, so.
Yeah, but no, it actually sent them to Mrs. McCooley, I just sent them to Steve.
Okay, all right.
2 days ago, so, so if you wanna read them, that's probably the best thing, and then
Yeah,
we
okay.
can go over it, the next meeting, that's good, but, we had a really good meeting, I don't know if I need to speak to Mrs. McCooley about what we should do next, I guess. Because whether we continue with the committee, do we, you know what I mean, I'm not sure how it's gonna fit in there.
Okay, all right,
Especially once we have the team building.
Okay.
But we did talk about team building, we talked about TV, we talked about a ton of things. So it is in the notes if you can take a look at it, and then, and you can email me questions or whatever, my voice. Email questions or, whatever.
Okay.
And then we'll figure it out.
All right,
together.
awesome. While we're on that, I need your team building papers, if you have them. Okay, I'll get them after.
I snuck mine into your,
You what?
I snuck mine over there.
Oh, you did? Thank
Yes.
you. Stephen, I got yours. Betty Ann, you don't have yours. You have them? You can just pass them around if you want, or
Okay.
stick them in the folder. Anybody
I
else?
will get to you.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's
Thank
under
you.
your thing.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, I would just like to add, tied to communications, our board goal addresses building communications with our local townships. I did let Sue know, but I went to the Eagleswood Township Committee meeting. I was asked to give the committee an update informal before actually the official meeting started in May. So I went there, I talked about the status of our superintendent search. They were interested in the budget and they were interested in the construction project, and that, some of the community members were talking about the high school shutting down, and just, pretty much just gave them the highlights of what was happening with the construction project. So they appreciated the update. I was asked to be there for about 10 to 15 minutes. I was there probably close to 30. So they started their meeting late, but they seemed to appreciate it, and they asked for me to stop back before the school year opened. So I said I would schedule the August meeting for them.
Great. Great.
So I did my part.
Good for you, and with communications, as we have our famous reporter here. I've been to 3 in Bass River and reported back to them. However, Bass River's meetings conflict with our workshop meetings, and that was explained to Bass River also. But it's nice to hear that you had gone to Eagleswood.
did.
So I was wrong.
I have also reached out to Mr. Gormley. I know that we are due for we are due for another little update with the Citizens Advisory Committee of Little Egg, so he is going to get back to us.
I also encouraged them, maybe if we all could as well, to, I'd said we were pretty active on Facebook. I plugged the Cat Eye, I plugged our student achievement, and they have actually read the recent article on that from Mr. Miller up in the Sandpaper. So they seem to be following along, so I plugged, Facebook. I said construction updates were posted on the website, so they seem to be appreciative of the information that was forthcoming. So.
Anything, Melissa?
No, not yet.
Okay, moving on to new business. Then we're going to get our first update. Welcome, Dr. McCooley.
Thank you.
We are happy to have you here.
Thank you. So today is my second official day. I'm tired. No. On my first day on Friday, I did have a construction update from Garrison and Epic. John Balloon actually was there with me. We got caught up to speed on everything with the construction. We were able to ask questions. We looked through plans, and it really clarified a lot for me, and made me understand where we're going moving forward. And I can answer questions now of the public if they ask me. Steve is finalizing, actually he shared with me today, his Excel spreadsheet that entails everything related to the referendum project. So it's clear to me how he outlined that with tabs at the bottom, and everything is outlined there. So that helped me understand the budget aspect of it. One of the concerns that I heard from the board was the documents that are in the construction folder are a little hard to navigate through. So with Steve at some point this week, I'll sit down. I know he's at a conference the second half of the week, so it'll either be this week or next week. We'll sit down and start labeling them so they're easier for you to see, what you're going into. If you're looking for something specific, I want it easier for you to go in there and just identify it. So I'll work with Steve on that project. The next thing I have is I have been having informal meet and greets with all of the board members. Very enjoyable and very interesting to see how you take on your own agenda when we have those. Everyone was different. I haven't met with Karen and Betty Ann yet. We have scheduled for tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yes. Wednesday. And Karen and I are still securing our date and time. But they were very enjoyable. Everyone talked about something different, and it gave me a nice perspective on some of the goals and ideas that you have for the board, so they were very, very enjoyable. The moving plan, I met with Steve, we talked about that. I've been getting a lot of correspondence from the administrative team. Mr. Hickman put together a really nice presentation that he shared with the staff. It's basically a PowerPoint of how he mapped out different areas, what's moving, where things are moving to. It would be much easier if he explained it. If I sent it to you, you could see it. It won't make much sense unless he's explaining it, but I appreciate the fact that he shared that with the staff, so they have an idea of what's happening. Mr. Brennan, along with Mr. Hickman, got some quotes from moving companies and multiple companies, and it's a good thing they did because one was much significantly different than the other. And that moving would be to either move everything from the high school into a portable, some type of portable that we can keep that until we're ready to move it back, or if we had to move it off location, it would be a little bit more costly. So those are the final things that we're working on in regards to the moving plan. We are meeting with the administrative team tomorrow. As I said, that's on our agenda. Most of the buildings and departments have ordered totes for their staff members to put all their things into. We're going to make it clear to them that those totes have to remain here, that after they're used, they're going to be used again to move back. And Mr. Ballone had a good idea that after we're done with them, after all the moving is done, we can either keep them and store them somewhere, or you can sell them. So we'll make a decision then, because they can be hard to store as well. So that was a great suggestion that he had, that we can put them on whatever site it is that they sell things like that, and we can sell them.
I hate to be stupid, but what is a tote?
Those big
Big
Rubbermaid
plastic thing.
plastic things too.
Oh, those things.
Yes.
With a lid.
Yes,
I
right.
mean, Rubbermaid.
Yes,
Okay.
with the lids, and yes, those.
Got
So
it.
we're gonna talk more about that during our admin team tomorrow and finalize some last minute details. Do you have a question about that?
Yeah, I have a question as to, on those lists and the stuff that's being prepared by all these supervisors and everything, the stuff that they are looking to dispose of,
Mm-hmm.
when will we have that looked at, evaluated, know whether it should or shouldn't be, and then a list provided to the board before it is disposed of?
Are you talking like TVs, VCR, what, I don't.
Whatever, I mean.
Yeah,
know
I mean,
that-
there's guidelines on technology and what can and cannot be discarded in-house. That would have to be on a board agenda. In regards to curriculum and textbooks, so the rule is if it's less than 10 years old, if it's more than 10 years old, you can discard it, but it'd have to be on a board agenda. If it's less than, you'd have to post it on that website and see if another school district wanted it first, for
Yeah.
like, I think it's 30 or 60 days. And then
I'm talking desks, any of those types of.
we don't have
I
a
mean,
plan to discard any of that, because they have to be used again, unless when we go to move them, they're falling apart. So yes, and those things would be placed on a list. But we can talk about that as part of our moving plan with the admin team as well. And Ms. Ernst will be at our meeting tomorrow, so she wants to see how the meetings run, and I think it's nice to have that connection with the board and the administrative team.
Perfect, thank you.
So she'll keep us straight. The next thing I have is the Alumni Foundation. This is something that I'm extremely excited about. When I had my meeting with Kim, she actually brought this up, and I explained to her that a small group of alumni from Pinelands already had something in the works, nothing finalized, and it's something that she had wanted to do as well. So we're teaming together. We're meeting with a local attorney who is an alumni on Wednesday, and he's going to give us some direction in terms of the legalities, the paperwork.
Awesome.
We have another attorney on our team that's helping with it, and we have our first alumni small group meeting scheduled for the end of June. And we're getting, a team together. Just because it's an alumni foundation, we're not limiting to just alumni. So we do want to welcome the community in and make it as big as we can and move forward. And I want to thank the superintendent from Central. He is an alumni there, and he really helped us with things he already has done. So it was nice to have that template and to see where he's gone with it and some great ideas. So this is something we're very excited about.
Now, yes, I know Kim's been on this since she got on the board, so you must be feeling
Yes, very
relieved.
good. And I went to the Education Foundation meeting,
Right.
which was really, really
That was the
good.
one you went to also, Stephen?
No, I did not. When
He
I
bailed
found
on
out,
me.
when I found out Kim was going, I figured why.
I said too, right?
Yes, he
Now,
just got me to go.
what is the board's role in that? I mean, we really don't approve it, or,
You really don't have much of a role
Okay,
in that.
good.
If it's something that has to be approved, that's being purchased, or something that affects instruction or something like that, then yes. But typically, the things that are bought are, the Alumni Foundation wants to donate with their funds a scoreboard, and that's
I
just
see,
an example.
okay, all right.
Or, landscaping, or something, to a scholarship. It's really a way to give back to the students and the district without going through the local budget.
We
Okay.
would just be accepting the
Yes,
donation.
Okay,
absolutely.
so
From
Absolutely.
any
As
other
we-
organization.
One
Cannot be
member can
involved
be a
in the foundation.
non-voting member on the board.
but as we
just
accept
one.
that, and I guess my question is, because I know my granddaughter's work is gonna be doing the marketing, would I have to abstain from accepting anything because she's working in that?
Only if you had a direct financial gain,
Oh,
and you wouldn't.
no, I
Because really,
just,
no one.
the money
benefits-
goes that way.
Right, no
Doesn't
one
come
really-
this way.
Yeah. No one's benefiting financially unless, because it's basically charity, so that's
Okay.
why it's deemed that type of organization.
Okay, all right,
But even once we get it going, we can do a little presentation so the
that would
board's
be
clear.
awesome, yeah,
Sure.
all right,
Because
great.
teachers will be able to, like,
Yeah.
if we work it up that way, we
Yeah.
can work it up that teachers can apply. So
Right.
Grants and.
they have to be careful about being on the board as well.
Right,
And one board member can be a non-voting member
yeah, I think in
of
the material you
education
sent, I
program.
read that, yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
there, I didn't send it to everyone else, so I didn't know if you had sent it to
No,
everyone else.
it was in all that material in your notes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just didn't know if
okay.
you wanted to
Yeah,
send it.
no,
out.
and I will if you want me to.
I mean, that's up to you guys, I just
Okay.
didn't know if everyone, I know Steven was supposed to get it as well, but
Right,
I didn't know if anyone else wanted it. That's a
Yeah,
lot of good
alright.
information, but it's
it is,
probably,
it was a lot of
it's probably
information.
too much
I
at
got
the
the
same time.
PowerPoint sent to me though from the.
Oh, you did?
All right, so we'll keep you updated on that. I have a couple more things. Looking ahead, I'm gonna look to start a parent advisory board to get some feedback informally from our parents. My first sit with the soup is scheduled for June 20th at 1 o'clock in the Pinelands Board Office. That is gonna be a combination of both Little Egg parents or Pinelands parents. Either one can come. I think it's a nice way. I've had Tuckerton parents come to mind there, so I open that to the community. It's not geared towards a specific group. So anyone that wants to come, there's no agenda. They just show up. I have it in the afternoon one month, and then the next month it'll be in the evening.
And I'm sorry, I missed the date.
It is June 20th at 1 o'clock. I posted it on Facebook. I asked that it be posted on our website, and the RSVPs go to Madge, just because she's used to doing them and putting that list together for me. But that's an open forum. I already had an RSVP, so that's nice. And, anyone's welcome to attend that. I've already started some communication with Ocean County College in Stockton for partnerships. Mr. Kubricki's gonna help with Stockton, and we're excited about that, and I'll have information on that as it's coming about. The board retreat and goal setting, we are looking for a tentative date of July 11th at 6. I sent that out to the board.
July 18th.
No, 11.
July
11th.
11th. The 18th was, one of them you had confused with the board meeting.
Oh, our board meeting's on the 18th?
No, our board meeting
Meeting is on
was, July 11th was the tentative date for our board meeting is, I'd have to check.
The 11th is definitely the other.
Sure,
meeting,
go ahead.
though.
So,
18th is our board meeting.
18th is our board, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pushed a week?
And the
It's
11th
the
is,
4th, July 4th is there, and on Wednesday.
right. I sent that out. If you can't make that date, let me know. I got feedback from some of you already on that.
yeah, it's good with me.
And Mary Ann Friedman still might do some type of closeout activity in June. I've been playing email tag with her, so I'll let you know about that. And then the last thing looking forward is strategic planning. School boards will most likely be doing that with us. They do a really nice job. So we'll probably start that around September, because that involves the entire community, whoever wants to be a part of that. Now, the last thing I have is a little more in depth. You don't have to have an answer for this tonight. You can always email me with some information or feedback, any questions you have. So the format of the board meetings here, since I've now gone through this first one, I just have some feedback and some comments on that. It seems as if, although our meeting is tonight, June 4th, and this was sent out Friday morning, the agenda was sent out Friday morning for your questions and concerns, and that's fine. But we're not only planning for this meeting, we're also planning for the next meeting in this meeting, because we have it linked that we go through the following meeting, and we have to make sure that that agenda is set, and we go through line by line. So basically what's happening is, we're planning for 2 meetings, we're planning for this meeting at least 3 weeks in advance. And that's really difficult, number one, to have that agenda set, but number two, to have all those corresponding documents already ready. So when you're having concerns and saying, well, where is the accompanying document for this? Oftentimes, 3 weeks in advance, it's not going to be prepared. So we're essentially planning for 2 board meetings 3 weeks in advance. And it's a little difficult on my end to have all that prepared and to answer all of your questions. I'm spending a great deal of time answering questions 3 weeks in advance. And not that I don't mind doing it, I just feel like it could be done more effectively. So my suggestion is this, and as I said, you can think about it and email me some feedback. We can either make them 2 completely separate meetings. So the first one of the month is essentially a work session. And there are agenda items on there that you want to discuss, you want to talk about, and that is a set agenda, standing alone. And then we have some type of chart put together that I could make that all the deadlines, anything that's going to be put on that agenda has to be done by this date, and you will have all of the corresponding documents by this date. And that will be put in a folder, in a Google folder. Then we have that meeting, we have discussion. It may come up that we want something placed on the next agenda, and it could just be placed on it. So then that meeting's over, now we start planning the next meeting. That happens a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, and there's deadlines for that. When you want everything set, when you want all the documents, and they're completely separate meetings. So we're planning for this one, and then we're planning for this one.
Would you envision that action could possibly be taken at both?
Yes, action can be taken at both, and I'm saying this based on experience. I explained that in Somerville, I had a high school there. It was a similar format to this, and we had a working agenda, and we had a regular agenda, and they often look very similar, but the working agenda, you're actually speaking more and getting feedback and having that open dialogue. But they are completely 2 separate agendas, and yes, as long as you post it, action can be taken at either. I can send you samples of agendas from other K-12 districts. You can look at them, middle school, high school districts, and you can see how they're run. That might help you to visualize it. The other option is you can have 1 meeting once a month, have your working session first, and then your regular agenda after corresponding.
One night.
But
So-
you would need the information in adequate time to be able to send any questions and
Yes,
get the answers.
and that's the thing, so that's the second piece of it. So now, when the board agenda goes out and the corresponding documents, ask questions, ask away. And what I will do is I will make a Google document with the questions that have already been answered. You will be able to view them all, and you can't comment because then it constitutes a quorum. But between Steve and I answering them, we will just stick all the answers in a common folder for that agenda's dates, and all of your answers will be there.
Odd question maybe, but why was it set up the way it was? I mean, I'm just wondering, was it to make sure the second agenda always had everything?
Well, I
They
think
can
that
really be
it
separated?
appears, and I don't want to misspeak, but it appears as if you had policy committees, and it was more the work of the committees, and you wanted to come back and report. But if you want to operate as board of a whole, which essentially that's what you're supposed to be operating as, you don't really have all those separate policy, those other committees, and you're coming back. Whereas, put the things on the agenda that you want, ask questions about them, and then during your work session, that's when everyone discusses it collectively, and you have it in one forum, at one time, so you're not doing all those subcommittees and back and forth and reporting, and it's less dialogue on the outside and more when you're having it in front of the public. And as I said, you don't have to have an answer now and think about it, and you can ask questions about that, but I would suggest one of the two separate board meetings, completely separate meetings, or one large meeting where you do work session first and then you have your regular session following it.
When you do the 1 meeting, what do you see as the time frame of that starting? Because I know we have a lot of people that do work, and I don't know if it would start before 6 or.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone will be able to make it if we did. I know Mr. Bonneke he said it's difficult for him.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 1 a month though, maybe he could, because he said he can make pre-arrangements if he knows ahead of time.
How would that work for you, Karen? Because I know you're working all the way up in Princeton, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it work.
So think about it, email me your thoughts and ideas. Regardless, I'm suggesting, making the two separate. I have never seen it done this way, where you're really working on two agendas that are on different dates at the same time. So, think about that and let me know what your feedback on that.
Do you have a deadline by which you would like that, Melissa? Like at least some feedback?
So maybe you can get back to me if you have any questions by Sunday, that's fine.
Okay.
Did you have another question?
A general question, I mean, I guess I'm wondering if there's things that would be on the first one that would relate to the second one, or are they gonna be totally separate? I guess, I kind of feel like that's what we've always done.
Like, here's your agenda for the first one. You have today, we have an agenda. We're talking about things that we need to accomplish, policy, approving the coaches because of the timely manner, and you go through it all. And in your discussion during your work session, like we're having right now, you might say, okay, can we put that on the next agenda? Take some notes, it goes on the next agenda. Then when it posts, you can see it in advance, ask any questions you have, and that chart that we make is going to explain deadlines for everyone and everything. Deadline of putting things on the agenda, which can't be the day of because everyone has to have the time to comprehend it and ask questions.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. You have more?
Nope.
Nope.
Wow, that's 2 days. I'm really excited.
Yeah, that was
2 days worth of work.
quite the amount of work. All right, I want to just interrupt here a minute before we move into residence forum because you may have questions. I don't know if you all noticed when you came in, we have a donation. Well, we're hoping it'll be a donation by John Elmer Iger. His granddaughter, Allie Sarasani, graduated from here. She was quite the equestrian. He has painted, there's 40 plus portraits of our American presidents. Wow. I believe they are all framed. They are obviously, as you can see, of varying sizes depending upon the frame itself. So the family actually, I think, I guess through Trish, reached out to Kim, then reached out to me. This is the end result, and they are asking, of course, that we accept these graciously. We're going to have a place to store them, and until the high school is finished. So Dr. McCauley has said we could probably find a spot in Frog Pond, correct?
And what it goes up to Reagan, right?
Pardon me?
Reagan or Bush 1? It's number
I think it
1
was
to,
Bush
I think it's
1.
1 to 40.
Yeah, I think it was Bush 1, yes. So this is, we can possibly, we don't want to add things to the agenda at the last minute, but maybe possibly for.
It's not last minute yet, though.
Okay, for next week.
Yeah.
And I think we could think about how we add on or continue it going in the future.
Well, he's moving into assisted living, if I'm not mistaken, right? And
I mean, they're gonna be yours.
I think,
The family's moving to North Carolina.
yeah, the portraits are incredible,
following
and he only
Alan.
has one arm. So, I mean, he's very, very talented.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful thing to do.
There's a lot of detail.
Yeah, a wonderful thing to do for our district. So, now, of course, my question, because I still have the box in my car. Yeah. Where are we gonna take those to store them now?
Can we just burn it?
No, I can't, 3 years,
Okay.
right,
Oh,
Steve?
public records?
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
I still don't
You have to
believe that.
keep them?
That box.
Put 'em in
has-
Cheryl's
I
office.
believe there's a law that requires
Put 'em in
us to keep
Cheryl's
it
office.
because they don't have a
I'm
box.
so tired of the
That's
box.
information.
So, anyway, we can talk about that after
Yeah.
the meeting as to where we can put these and keep them safe.
And I would just look at the proper way to store them. There's,
Yeah, I don't know whether they need to be
yeah,
wrapped
there's
in
some kind of
paper,
wrap or
yes,
whatever to
John?
ensure that
Yeah,
it's
I would
done.
wrap them and then put them in they make boxes just for pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome,
Have them wrapped and then we'll put them in the box.
Great.
And store them like that so they don't get damaged at all.
thank you. All right, moving on to residents forum. Agenda items only. Do I have any takers, speakers?
I will, if nobody else.
Of course. Good evening, Mr. Mellerup.
Good evening, Mrs. Ernst. Before I start, I want to explain one thing to our new superintendent. When I write articles, you're never called doctor. The reason is that the sandpaper policy, the only people that get called doctors are medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians, which upsets my sister-in-law, who's head of the psychology department at the University of Maine, very greatly, just to explain that.
Have you visited?
Huh?
Have you visited her?
My questions are about the contracts. Mr. Carnes, you might be able to help me with this. After the fiasco with the roof, people were asking if bad information could be found about these companies before we signed contracts with them. What was that phrase? It wasn't bad information.
Oh, we were looking at, you got me stumped. Past, darn it.
But basically, it was the idea of like, you know, had a previous district had trouble with that roofing company before us. So I was wondering if any, I just can't use any other phrases.
It was prior history.
Prior history, right.
Got a business
If
bureau.
the,
so
right,
see how
if the
it-
prior history had been examined before these contracts were recommended. The other thing that scares me is that idea that he kept insisting, Bill kept insisting that it was a very aggressive schedule. And I'd like to know in the contracts if a hard finish date has been included and if there are severe penalties if they exceed that hard finish date, or at least what sort of penalties. And that's it for now.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I know that we got quite the history when we hired our new company, Epic. So, you know, did I go into a police folder? No. You know, we do what we can do as far as looking at that. But you also need to realize that we've got architects looking at them, we've got Mr. Brennan looking at them, we have the ad hoc committee looking at them, we have the attorney who then looks at the contract, etc. So, and Cheryl, obviously. So, I guess if you're asking, have they been vetted? I don't know. I didn't read anything bad about them.
When John and I met with the Epic and Garrison, both at separate times, we went through each one of these companies and they talked about the years of experience in the business, how many times they've worked with them. These are not new to both Epic and Garrison.
Okay, and her answer made more sense than mine. So use hers. The other one was a very aggressive schedule, and yes, we do. And I believe we have a tentative end date, do we not?
We do. I don't have them in front of me, but I asked the same question when we met with Garrison and Epic, and there are financial implications if they do not finish on time to them.
Right. Again, we need to remember that, and I think that both Brian and Bill said, you know, we don't know what's going to happen when we open that wall, you know, which could change things, and we have to be aware of that. I am just saying that right now I am much more comfortable than I was this time last year. Any other takers? Yes, Bubba.
Give me that book.
Anthony.
Do it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Question with the fire system, alarm system. You were still tying in new stuff to old stuff. We've had problems in the past with false alarms. This year alone, what did we have, 4 or 5 false alarms because the system was failing? And what they did is they went in and fixed old stuff. It might be a smart idea to not just do half the building that isn't done already and just revamp the whole system. Don't be penny wise and dollar foolish. If you spend the money now and do everything, you're not gonna chase old problems down the line. I didn't want to interrupt the gentleman.
Right.
But that kind of makes sense. I mean, everybody here knows how many times the alarm went off, and the fire companies were getting disgusted with that, and they were not happy because have to show up. I think a whole revamp of the system would be a good idea, it's just my opinion.
He did explain that day, because I asked that, and they explained everything to John and I, that the old that they're considering is not very old, and it's the same, and I'm not gonna misspeak because I know nothing about this, but he just explained that it's the same type that they're tying to, so there was no need to replace what's there. So they're replacing the stuff they need to, and it ties in, from what he's saying, it ties in well to what they're putting it into. But if you want me, I could reach out to him and have him email me and summarize what he explained that day, because I don't remember the names of any of it, but he did explain that that's why we don't need to incur that cost of $620,000, because they can just tie in new stuff to fairly new stuff that's already here.
Okay, but the new stuff we had here, isn't that failing, where it kept tripping the alarm?
That's the old stuff.
No, that was the old
That
stuff.
was the
Right,
old
that's
stuff?
the old stuff.
Oh,
There's
really?
old and new here currently, they're taking out the old and tying the new into the
Okay.
semi-new.
Well, I didn't understand that.
Yes,
that part.
I know, and I don't
I
wanna,
didn't understand that part.
right. But I can have him email me a summary of what he explained, and then it might make more sense
The
to
only
you.
other construction question was any of the bids that put in already for the structural steel removal and new steel being put in? She only talked about all the masonry. The beams that have to go in that were rotted? Was that-
Yes.
That's all included?
Yes.
Yes.
And the third thing is, do you want to make money for the alumni committee?
Of course.
That's
Yeah,
the,
of
course
that's
we
the
do.
I
point.
just raised $3,000 in one day
Okay,
for Great Bay EMS. I can help you out.
we'll reach out to you. You're hired for free.
I'm always for free.
Thank you, Anthony, that was very generous.
You're welcome. But I will need help.
I'm actually, I got a message to ask about, it's a good point though. The roofing system, we're saying we're doing punch list items and stuff like that. Has that been, so we're basically past all of the old mess where we had issues with defective roof, that's all taken care of now with this punch list stuff? Because I was under the impression that a lot of it had come off and completely be redone
At the high school,
at the high school.
from what he explained on Friday, they're just about complete with all of that.
Okay, and they have been doing that not during the day, correct?
Correct.
Because I've seen the trucks there on weekends and at nights and stuff, which
Correct.
I know is another concern. I'll speak for myself later.
Thank
Patty.
you. Anybody else? Okay.
Oh.
Then moving on, Mr. Brennan, opening of bids?
I believe we pretty much explained the opening bids ad nauseum, so we're gonna be acting on them tonight.
Okay. I need a motion for number 9, was it A and B? Correct?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the bids.
Motion approved.
And the
We're gonna do
recommendation.
masonry and the renovations together, or we doing them
And
separate?
it's 11, not
Should
9.
be,
You do them separate?
You wanna do them,
Why don't we do the masonry bid first? So
Should
we have a
be
motion
separate,
to
yeah.
approve the masonry bid.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
second,
Any discussion?
So we're talking about 11A, correct?
11A.
Mr. Bonnick,
yes.
Mrs. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Hennadel,
Yes.
Mr. Kabricki,
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh,
Yes,
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Mrs. Pakakua,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes,
Mrs. Ernst.
Yes.
Motion carries. So can we get a motion for the junior high school and high school renovation project?
motion,
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Bonnicky,
yes.
Mrs. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Hennadel,
Yes.
Mr. Kabricki,
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh,
yes,
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Mrs. Pakakua,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes,
and Mrs. Ernst.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I may have messed up here. I didn't, maybe I'm losing my mind, which I probably am. I don't think we normally have 2 residence forums during work session, do we?
no.
Okay. Well, since it's on there,
I think what we did is add the second one when we were gonna vote on
Voting.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there could be input into
right,
the
okay,
discussion.
all right, got it.
Just went in the wrong place.
All right,
It's in the
so,
place.
residents
Because it was on the agenda.
forum, number 10, anything, anybody have anything that they would like to say? This is not necessarily agenda items.
So once again, what a difference in attitude it is around here, right? I mean, it's amazing. Everybody's like loose and happy and stuff instead of the tension that's been here. It's really been cool. Thank you. You guys will make a smart decision. And I suppose you still don't want to tear that up and build a new school. Just kidding.
He's trying to make it sense.
Yes, really.
I was wondering, and I was wondering if we had any of the keyboard cowgirls, all the people. Nobody wants to come out to complain. So to me, it's all just crap. Everybody is behind it until they come here and prove that they're against what you guys are doing. It obviously can't be bothered for them, so it's not that important. And everybody that does come out seems to be 100% behind it. That's the input that I get. There's like 4 people that you couldn't make happy if they won the lottery. They'd complain about the taxes. So going forward, I just wanted to compliment everybody on how well this is going and just how informative it is, and you know, the mood, the lighter mood and everything just makes me feel a lot better. Yeah, it feels a lot better because you know, there's been so much stress and tension on obviously on your side and our side and everything else, and that's all seems to be like gone for right now. And I did do some research into, well, Epic, I've known about Epic for a while, so I'm very confident with them. And if they're confident with people, then I think that we're in good shape. Plus, we'll still watch them like pops. So, thank you.
We hope so.
Thank you, Jamie. Anybody else? Okay.
Of course not. It's always just me.
All right then, moving on, before we go into executive session, board forum, and tonight I'm gonna start. Welcome.
Thank you.
I would like to take a few moments to thank Dr. Stevenson. She has been a godsend to this district. She took over in December officially, and I know that on May 31st she was doing, is there a 31st of May? She was doing cartwheels on the way home. In fact, she did send me a picture.
Oh, jeez.
But she was not doing cartwheels. What the woman accomplished in those 6 months is amazing. I think for the biggest thing for this district and this board was she held this district together. She remained calm at almost all times. There were a couple times, if you're sitting right next to her, you could tell when she was like, you know, she's getting a little antsy. But she did stay calm in the face of adversity. She took some big hits. You know, she unfortunately was the person who was also present at our famous October meeting. And while doing just the daily jobs of a superintendent, she also was holding down her job as director of instruction and curriculum, which in and of itself is a huge job. She did a great job with communicating not only with us, but she took an inordinate amount of time to email individuals from the community, parents who were upset, etc. And that did take a great deal of her time. She came to every construction meeting, still held down administrative meetings, plus just meetings with her own department, you know, taking on, you know, evaluating her staff. I can't thank her enough. She did an awesome job. She is definitely to be commended, and I thank her deeply. I'm just sorry she isn't here tonight. So that's what I have to say in board forum tonight. So now I'm just going to start with Karen, and we'll go around the board.
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay.
And I would also like to acknowledge some of our sports teams. We've had some really great successes of late, so wanted to highlight that and congratulate our students and our coaches that work so hard. And I also wanted to just take a few moments to recognize 2 of our staff members. One is Mr. Beaton, who has just such compassion for our special ed. He helped start the autism program here. He stepped down from the Challenger League, which gives those students an opportunity to participate with other collegiate athletes. I think I saw it was after 10 years. He does the Buddy Club here. You may have seen it on Facebook. He held the Buddy Prom, which gave these students an opportunity to partner with, I'll say, their regular ed buddies and participate in the prom-like experience. I just wanted to acknowledge that individual, I think, often goes above and beyond, and he is stepping down. We have another, thankfully, another volunteer to carry on with the Challenger League, but I just wanted to acknowledge the efforts that has been put into that program to really help our students, I think, really shine as much as possible for those students. And then secondly, I wanted to acknowledge our athletic director, Coach Sunderman, was recognized as the Shore Conference Athletic Director of the Year. So our athletes and our teams, with all the construction and schedules and things, have been crazy. And one thing we have here is heart. And our kids and our coaches work hard, and they work hard oftentimes year-round. And I know Coach Sunderman works hard to give them what they need, and it was nice to see us recognized across the Shore Conference for that. So I congratulate him, and I'm thankful our district has those individuals.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Williams.
I'd like to thank our audience this evening for attending. It has been dwindling, but thank you. And I concur with my fellow board members. That's it.
Mr. Bonnicky, first of all, I want to know, did you win?
No, I finished 10th.
Oh.
But that's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah,
And
that's
not
awesome.
positive. Always leave something out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
In regards to our stadium, our fields under repair.
Right.
And football games being booked away. Has there been additional further discussion using the Stafford rec fields for home games and homecoming for next year? I'm just saying we've talked about it a little bit, but not in great detail. But if we could pursue and encourage our AD to reschedule that season for home games, I believe I may impose on you, Betty Ann, and Stafford Rec. There's been discussions to that effect where home games are only 15 minutes away, not an hour to an hour and a half. And if homecoming can still exist and feel real being Stafford Field,
like they're still at home.
Right, I think that is something that needs to be done sooner than
Rather
later.
than later. You on that?
I'm on it.
You're on it.
Welcome aboard.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Ms. Palladino.
Do we have a consensus of the board in looking into the other opportunities for a field, for especially homecoming and a couple of home games? Because I think we need to.
I don't think anybody would object to
The
that.
issue that might have been a concern is that there's no locker room up there.
Yes.
So that might be a little bit of a stumbling block. For one game, like a homecoming game, we might be able to rent a tent that would provide that kind of a setting for people. But whatever we can work out on our end, we will make it available. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Could they actually sell and make some money on, like how they make money for the?
Oh yeah, there's a concession stand there. They could.
So if we did a tent with tables or whatever, they could maybe come up with, something that would work as locker rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think so our students don't lose
That would be great.
everything. I agree with Jeff 100%. And it would be something nice. I mean, they suffered through, and they're gonna suffer through everything we have going on across the street. I think that going to Stafford Fields would be a minor inconvenience for
And other
homecoming.
teams
It
play
looks
there.
for
Baseball
homecoming.
plays up there, soccer plays up there, softball plays up there. They play a Pineland Southern game every season up there at the field. So it's not that unusual for our teams to travel up there to play.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea. I think it's something that we should look into. And, regarding, I guess, the year may be a little rough, but our kids are resilient. They've proven that.
That fails in comparison to everything else.
Yes, Mr. Balone.
I have your contact for Stafford Rec.
Well, Betty Ann is staff
You have-
rep.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
That is. Your people talk about
There you go.
Christie,
Welcome aboard. Thank you everyone for coming. Sports is pretty awesome, huh?
very,
Softball team's doing great. It holds a little special place in my heart. So,
right, right. Pat,
Sue, thank you for going first this evening and saying what you did. Karen seconded, I thirded it. You did a very nice job. Thank you, Cheryl, if you're watching. We appreciate everything.
yeah, I'm sure she's watching.
Yeah, she's watching.
If you're watching. So we do appreciate everything that she's done. So Sue, thank you for those great words, because really, it was all true. Welcome, Dr. McCooley.
Thank you.
We are thrilled that you are here. I'm thrilled that you're here. So we're looking forward to moving forward and moving upwards. To echo what Karen said about some of the positives, I can't tell you, every day I go onto the computer, there's something, not just one, not just two, there's 3, 4, and 5 positives that are going on here at Pinelands, whether it's the junior high school or the high school, whether it be sports, whether it be the students going to colleges and where they've been accepted to, our teachers, our thespians, it's unbelievable, it's overwhelming. And all that I can say is positive, positive, we're moving forward, we're moving upward, the Cat Dome is going on the map. So congratulations to all of you, thank you to the staff, and those of you that came tonight, thank you. Epic, thank you for your report, we appreciate it. I'm very impressed with the notes that come out of the meetings. And for a layperson to say that, and I understand what's being said, you're doing
That's
a great
big.
job. Yeah, so anyway, thank you, everybody.
I think the most recent one to add was the basket thing that was
Yes,
held
the
Friday.
basket. Yeah.
I don't know how many of you were able to go. I don't know if we have a report yet on what we've raised for the scholarship.
It
So
was 9.
again, just
9.
awesome.
I heard 9.
Wow, that's
Awesome.
great.
That's great.
Mr. Kubricki,
Just want to have and see if we can follow up talking about our accomplishment and our pride about the graduation of our students. I think, again, it's important that you see articles about CBA students earn, 10 million in scholarships. I think now is the time, and I brought it up before, but I think it has to be done within the next 2 weeks. And, where we have our graduating students indicate on some form, are you going to A, work after graduation, B, military, C, college, D, other, and then if you're going to college, list all the colleges you are going to and how much scholarships you have. Then it would be easy to write an article, a report, that would again serve as a source of pride of our accomplishment. I think that's real important. And I know we as a board don't do that, but I would either encourage our superintendent to get such a, one page that you can give to our graduates before
Right.
they graduate, indicating their plans after graduation. If we have a place where we want our graduates to go and be, we have to know where they are now, in terms of what are their graduation plans. And then we have to highlight the excellence of those that, are, those going to work. That's good. So many have jobs, so many are going to the military, so many have 15 million in scholarships,
Right.
We gotta really do that before graduation in the next 2 weeks. And I know that's something the board can't do, but, I really think it's incumbent upon the administration team to get that done. We could, it's not hard to write an article or a series of articles, and we could do that, even though we're not probably supposed to as board members, but analyze that data, and get that information out. So I don't think we want to lose this opportunity.
Well, the awards night is the 7th, correct?
yes,
This week.
Okay.
yes.
So maybe,
That'll be
That
just the students for
information.
awards. It won't be the students who are maybe working, already have a job lined up, or the
Right.
students who are going to
Just
the
put a Google Doc
military.
together and have them
Scholarship
go
awards
online
11th.
and.
Right,
Is there
right,
like the
right.
second?
There's an
And
award
we
to
can
the
add that
second
thing we
for
talked about the
scholarships.
Scholarship is
foundations,
the
about
11th.
what they were
Scholarships
interested in,
is
Yes.
and go back and hit them up later.
Other
Even
than
day of
this-
graduation where they're marching,
Thursday.
if they haven't done it, fill out this little form telling us what you're doing after graduation.
Make it part of their closeout.
It's simple, yeah, we can put together a Google survey and have them take it in one of their classes or in
That's
homeroom.
great. You done?
Yes.
Go, Kim.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled. I think you have an amazing amount of positive energy and you just seem, you know, you're just a dynamo. So I'm thrilled and I think most of us are very thrilled. About Cheryl, I think going back to Jamie's point, I think she really helped us get up to a better place as well. I think she's amazing with the staff. She has such a long relationship with them and I'm sure she's gonna help you. Yeah, I know she will, but she just really helped calm us all down. She just took over and, you know, when we really needed it. Also about the foundation, and so ditto on everything you all said, so thank you for your comments as well. The foundation, any names that you can think of people we should be talking to in the future? Like we said, we'll have our first meeting in June, but it's just the beginning. But anyone that you think's in the community that's already giving, doing, you know, participating, who can definitely be a source of either funds or energy and work would be great. So if you could email those over.
Will do.
There are a lot of scholarships that are funded by ex-alumni.
Yes.
So for alumni, that might not be a bad resource to reach out to.
And Betty Ann, did you have something you want to
Welcome
add?
aboard. No, and thanks for coming out. And we still got more work to do tonight, so
Yeah.
I'll keep it short. Oh, and Cheryl's just phenomenal. Just what a great job she did. And, good stuff.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel. It shouldn't take any more than 20 minutes. No action will be taken afterwards, so we will just come out of executive and adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we're in executive at 7:43.
And Steve, is gone.